Get ready for the next battle.
Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to another issue of Ramblin' Live. This is your host, Josie Cat, aka Chris. I'm my usual co-host, Derek, aka Darkneon.
Ah, shoot, I could have. The opening line for Tekken 3 would have been great, but I didn't have it ready.
Oh, that's okay. We're doing this live anyway. Yeah, this will be our first ever live episode of the 2024. Yay! Anyway, is he for doing good? Good contact on my board. Are we able to find it? Yeah, I hear us coming through. Our sound's good, audio's good, picture is good.
Oh, the hell with it.
Anyway, so again, once again, hello there. It's the Josie Gets Me and aka Chris, joined by my usual co-host, aka Dark Neon, Derek.
Hey, are we doing it again? Wait.
No, we're not doing it. I'm just trying to keep a little bit of a wind back, and yeah, we're back with our another rambling live. This is our first episode of 2024, and I'm sure you by judging by the intro and everything, I find it funny that this is the thing I decided for us to do first. I mean, obviously, we weren't going to have a live ramble on Mean Girls, although I heard that's doing pretty well. But yeah, uh, anyway, we're here to discuss another fighting franchise. We haven't done one since the last Mortal Kombat, which was probably Mortal Kombat 11 when we did a rambling live when it had just come out. Because, uh, as you could probably tell by my content and what I talk about every now and then, I'm a huge MK fan. Well, over the course of this long friendship that we've had, I've discovered that my friend Derek has a fighting game series that he's very passionate about. Isn't that right?
Yeah, this was actually long before the uh, playing stuff like Mortal Kombat and Soul Calibur and uh, slightly teasing in with Street Fighter. There was actually one that actually started out for me, and it came through like this one of these like PlayStation CD sampler. They're kind of almost like a extension of the PlayStation Underground services where they
I
give
remember
out
those.
demos. And among those, in that one CD sampler, pretty much had access to franchises that would eventually become involved with, like Resident Evil 2, although there was just a video trailer of that. Spyro, also just a trailer. Tomb Raider 2. Uh, uh, there's this one game that me and my brother just cannot. We're ripping our hairs out trying to find it. It's called Einhinder. It's like got to be the most impossible thing to find unless you want to spend like $1 million on it.
Ah, rare, huh?
Like, yeah, like one of them shoot 'em ups, but it's
Ah,
like really flashy. And of course there was Tekken 3, which was a fighting game, which was kind of the first we ever did, me and him. And we were just it's I don't know. I guess we were just trying to figure out how to do all these flashy moves, but it was enough that we actually got the actual game for I think for a holiday. I think that's to be. That was like the only way you get your games back then when you were like 5 or 6.
yes. If I recall, I don't have the actual data in front of me. I could pull it up real quick, but I think I hear say that Tekken 3 is probably one of the best-selling games for the PlayStation era. Like probably overall with the PlayStations, it's up there.
Yep. and it definitely held the title for like the most nostalgia. Although for a while it was Tekken 2, which prior to recording this, why I'm kind of a little bit exhausted, drained, and feeling like I had the shit kicked out of my dick, is I've been playing Tekken 2, and it's yeah, it's not as fluid and fast and frenetic as Tekken 3 is, because
Oh yeah, I heard there was a
yeah.
lot of, you know,
Well, it's definitely a step over Tekken 1. I'll just say that. You would watch it and going like, Jesus Christ, how are you supposed to button mash in this thing?
yeah, Tekken One really is a prototype during the heyday of the arcade days. You know, coin ops and all that stuff. I mean, Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat reigned supreme, and then all of a sudden the brand new wonderful world of 3D has entered both arcades and gaming. And there were several early attempts at that kind of stuff. I'm sure you don't need to look far in Virtual Fighter, and bringing that home was a real disaster. Just ask James Ralph, the angry video game nerd, during his Sega 32 review, 32X review. And
Yeah, and funny enough, the Capcom would have their Virtual Fighter, and eventually, of course, Namco and Capcom would have this nice little friendly rivalry friendship thing going on between
Sega.
them.
But yeah, and I think because what I overheard because I listened to a couple of videos in the lead up to this because between me and him, I'm the newbie to this whole thing, which is why he's probably surprised but not surprised that I'm the one that decided to make a push for doing an episode entirely on this game. But I figured since I had my shot with Mortal Kombat, it would be only fair that he'd have his shot with this series. And while listening to a couple of videos, I did hear that one of the original developers from Virtua Fighter had left Sega and all that stuff, Tenko, and had funded their own company and joined Namco, and that eventually led to the formation of the Tekken project and all that stuff. So they were both coming out at the same time, looking very similar. Virtua Fighter looking a little more polished, but Tekken was up there with presentation versus mechanics. Although, like you said, I think he said it's not till Tekken 3 that the mechanics actually became cemented of what the series became known for.
Yeah, but so basically, the way the Tekken is played is that each like the four buttons are essentially relegated to each of your limbs. Like you have your right punch, your left kick, your right kick, your left punch, and then of course you have your directionals, and it all is laying down in how you perform the combos, essentially. Whereas Street Fighter was more about how fast and frenetic your stick was to acquire certain moves like the Hadokens and Shoryukens and all that stuff. Tekken was more about seeing how you remembered the combo layout with the buttons to get something resolved.
It is very arcadey. I'll say that right now because, yeah, I know all these fighting games got to start in the arcades and stuff, but I definitely feel like Tekken feels good on the faces of a button with your thumb. But I bet you it probably feels amazing if you play with a console stick that has like the arcade layout. I bet.
I'm not sure because I have played like Tekken 7 in the arcade stands, and I get the shit kicked out of me at like the final boss. Like every time I even played that as an arcade, but playing the Tekken 7 on the console doesn't seem to be a problem.
I
So
understand. Yeah, so maybe I could be mistaken. I know because there's some fighting game purists out there that you gotta feel the stick and the buttons in the flat cabinets, and those guys work like monsters with their fingers. But yeah, so you're right. That is a unique system because most of them would be like these are your strong attacks, light attacks, and medium attacks, and you kind of just combo between those. But this, you actually had to think of orientation and your fire. So there's a little more thinking that goes into the fighting, and it led to some more realistic type combat scenarios. And it's funny that I use the word realistic when this is a series that has a lot of stuff happen where you might even Mortal Kombat will turn around and go, "Am I seeing this?"
hey, to be fair, like all fighting games have like the weird stuff. I mean, for God's sakes, Killer Instinct has a dinosaur in it.
Uh huh. And Dead or Alive has a spin-off, two spin-offs, one about an epic ninja, the other one about having fun on the beach, and make of that what you will. Oh, and then there's King of Fighters, where one of the guys is good enough to even get an invite into Smash. So, yeah, there's a lot of fighting game guys, but Tekken is probably up there, like among one of the all-time reigning champs for fighting games in general. And like I said, not only did a new game come out within the past week, we also me and Derek, we were suddenly figuring out that a shit ton of stuff had anniversaries this year. This year would mark in the fall would mark the 30th anniversary of the Tekken franchise overall.
Which I'm surprised that they're not even marketing that in Tekken 8. But then again, I guess they didn't want to make it seem like, oh, they just made this game just to coincide with that anniversary. It was probably more happenstance as opposed to most other companies who try to profit on that type of thing.
Uh huh. But yeah. Then again,
I will say though, uh, there is actually credence to the whole realism thing because unlike most of the other fighters where they are thinking like, oh, what looks cool, what looks flashy, what looks like we can homage, like with Johnny Cage being an homage to Van Damme, or the Street Fighter series having these arcade cartoonish figures. They're like trying to reenact like the Catch a Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and all that stuff. In Tekken, most of the fighters actually are paired up with fighting styles that are, for the most part, as opposed, except with certain exceptions for certain characters, are based on actual fighting styles. Like you have your brawlers, you have certain, you have your karates, you have your
Jiu-Jitsu.
jujitsus, ninjutsus, you have like all your forms of defensive, assassination types. I think Nina is starting to get a little bit into the gun kata in the later games,
Makes sense.
and like there's like certain fighting styles that look like they're dances, like Capoeira, and it's in that way. It's not only that, but also they have. I guess at some point they decided to have most of the characters instead of being localized. They just said, you know what, screw it. Everyone can understand it, like everybody. So everybody that's native in certain parts of the world that they speak that language.
So Spanish will speak Spanish, Japanese will speak Japanese, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, there were some characters that did speak English a little bit, but they decided like maybe we'll lean them to be more about like they're born in certain places. Like Lily, at one point, she spoke perfect English up until I think
7.
around 7, where she spoke French because her family is based on Monaco.
Uh huh. Which I review. If for those of you who are MCU types, that's where Tony Stark had that race where he met Whiplash.
Yeah, but in that way, when because not even just the different languages, they can understand like fighters who have like a cheetah persona, like King, who just speaks in growls and rowls, but they'll understand that entirely, and they'll even understand a freaking bear who's just miming and growling. So I guess it's supposed to be the game designer's way of saying that the whole world can understand each other through like fists and violence. That's the universal language. So
Mm-hmm.
make it that one.
But yeah, that reminds me how there was that OVA Tekken motion picture, and as part of this lead up to get to this, I decided let's watch some of the Tekken media because Tekken, like other great fighters, well, not all of them need this, but some of the more well known ones have this. Will always have adaptations, merchandise, and a lot of notoriety outside of the fighting scene. And in this case, I decided to watch the anime movie that had came out in the mid '90s. That was a loose adaptation of I think two.
1 and 2.
And the intro starts, and I'm laughing, going, "Did we put in the right tape?" Because it sounds like we're getting a whole history of the world type thing rather than anything specific to Tekken about like violence and crusades and all this shit, religion and philosophy.
Yeah, it's it's at that point you start to realize, oh no, this. this game didn't have as strong a story as we thought we could adapt it from. We have to add a whole bunch of bullshit to it.
Actually, it's pretty funny because there's some fighting games that have a narrative, like say Mortal Kombat and the like. Tekken had a loose narrative, and at a certain point, that ended up becoming the drive. I think around 3, that's when it became more of a focused point. That there's like a whole bunch of lore behind each character and their choices and their fighting styles and stuff. All stem from the story based stuff, right?
Yeah, mostly.
Like, when would you argue that the narrative started taking a much more noticeable presence in the games, if you from what you remember?
I think around 4, especially when one of the main characters of the old games, Kazuya, makes his big dramatic return.
Because he was absent from the third game.
Yeah, he was absent. I think he was kind of having to deal with the fact that he was tossed into a volcano.
And that's why I say loose realism, because you also have guys breaking bikes with their bare fist. You got guys catching axes with their teeth and breaking it, and that's like normal for them. And fighting in an active volcano with lava and rock, like it's Mustafar and everything, and just pounding the hell of each other while epic rock music plays, man. Like,
I mean, to be fair, like the PlayStation port of Tekken 3 did have like a lot of rockin' themes to it, so
oh yeah.
it was the 90s.
But yeah, so I kind of find it funny that it's available on all consoles when it really got a big jump by the PlayStation, and for a while I think all you could get it was on PlayStation.
Yep, I think right up until 6.
Oh yeah, Xbox 360.
Because they decided like the Xbox 360 crowd happened.
But yeah, so
Yes, I should ask, like, how did you take to the playing Tekken when you started to play?
well, my jumping point was 6, which I think some people are going, oh, okay, well, okay. The story about how I got into it's pretty funny. So for Derek, it's something that he's had since childhood. So of course, when this new game started really getting hyped up, in his enthusiasm, he couldn't help but share a lot of the stuff. And one of the videos that, I mean, Marissa was talking about a character she remembered from an intro. I think it was Dark Resurrection. There was Lily, the blonde one. She said looked like Pyrrha, but the way she described it was loose enough that Derek thought she was talking about the Lisa Basanovich, the cyborg fighter girl. Spoilers, but it's all over the trailer, and I put her in this intro. And that's when I started going. My head started turning a bit like, huh. And then he started telling me more about backstories and histories, and I thought to myself, I might as well take the dive. And my PlayStation subscription does have access to some games, and the games namely being the PSP port of Tekken 6 upscaled, which that's kind of funny, but it plays well, and Tekken 7, which I haven't started yet, but I ended up buying Tekken 6 on the Xbox store for the $12, and I'm going through the campaign right now, and it's funny because it's not like you fight up the ladder and you get cutscenes like say MK9 or nothing. No, they have this system where you have to go through a brawler type game. Sometimes you just got a shit ton of enemies just all over the place, and you're like,
Oh yeah, yeah. They started that since Tekken 3 because they called that mode Tekken Force, and then they brought it back to 4. But in 5 they changed it up to be. They kind of made it act like it was its own separate game within Tekken 5. They called it Tekken Devil Within, where you're just mostly playing as Jin.
almost like Mortal Kombat Deception having conquest and stuff like that, almost.
Yeah, but it was still like a beat 'em up.
Yeah, but oh my goodness.
Unfortunately, they're gonna ditch that starting in 7. I don't know if that's even like. Yeah, no, it's not its own mode. It's yeah.
I think they got a different thing going on, and it looks like 8 is also having a huge narrative focus in one of their modes too.
They actually have like the campaign, and then they have a different thing called an arcade quest, which is supposed to be like this meta game about arcade players playing Tekken and trying to rise up in the ranks. I don't know. It looks kind of cute.
But yeah, so for you, what do you say drew you to Tekken? Like that caught your eye right away in your view.
Well, we were kind of we were kind of young. We had that CU sample. We were just trying to play out all these different games. There's Gran Turismo in there, so we raced a bit. There's like oddball games you probably haven't heard of or hear a lot of people talk about, like Blasto or Jersey Devil. And then there's like uh, Tekken there, and it was just kind of like an easy pick you up and play thing. You're like, oh, okay, we can give this a try. And then eventually we started to get to. I think there's only like 2 playable characters with that mode, or with that demo. There's Ling Xiaoyu, which obviously kind of would domino over to becoming one of my favorite characters in this series, and Eddie Gordo, who is one of the Capori masters. So they're basically demoing with the new next generation of fighters. That's what the big job for Tekken 3 was. But then we did. I think the demo did have like different movies playing through, like you were circling the arcade intros and all that. And we just looking at it, and it looks really interesting. So of course we did eventually get the game in a holiday, and we started to play as different characters, and it was like not only because the characters had like different themes and backgrounds around them that kind of evoked a grand world scope and scale, traveling around almost kind of like Street Fighter does, but in a more 3D scope environment. And also there was this kind of this I think what actually really drove us is the fact that as we kept playing, we found new things to unlock. We unlocked more characters. We unlocked actual different modes, like one involving playing Tekken as a volleyball, but it's mostly like getting each hit to go land to connect to actually to damage the other player. It was kind of really weird. It was also kind of fun. It was stupid fun, essentially.
Oh yeah, and you gotta admit, for its time, Tekken 3 had quite the visual flair that none of the other at-home uh, ports had. In fact, I think some people would argue it was the closest thing to Arcade Perfect that you could get on a 3D system at the time. Before, I tell you, Soul Calibur had a really good port on Dreamcast, but that was years after the fact. I'm saying that for its time, Tekken 3, because uh, when you play a game at home versus a game at the arcade it has powerful processors and you can make the thing look as best as you can for the time. And then when you bring it down to the console with a little cartridge or a little disc, you might have to cut out a few characters, change the sample rate, and things will look a little bit less than polished. MK4 is a huge example of that. In fact, if you remember from the Mortal Kombat retrospective, and Mortal Kombat had a very rough transition to 3D. I know, cliche phrase, but it really did have a rough transition trying to get there because it was still playing with 2D mechanics but trying to be 3D at the same time with like side steps and stuff like the big boys like Tekken and Virtua were doing. But Tekken 3 was one of the few where you could say, I can play that without spending a single quarter. And it has they even add bonus content like full videos and other unlockables and exclusive skins and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I remember didn't have Tekken 4 for a while. I think there was that whole gap where we didn't for the whole generation we kind of stick with Nintendo with the GameCube. And of course, although we did have a family member that had PlayStation 2 and a copy of Tekken 4, so I did manage to get to play a little bit of that and realized how like definitely different it was. Just in a way, like they added certain things like breakable environments, breakable walls. They had a little bit way more faster fluid fighting. Actually, no, I think the fighting got slowed down just a little bit.
That's what I've heard.
Which is probably why not a lot of people talk very fondly of Tekken 4 as much as they do like 3, definitely 5. Like, good God, there's a lot of people are really love Tekken 5, and I can honestly vouch for that, considering the fact that I definitely remember uh, Tekken 5 was like probably like one of the few last Toys R Us purchases I made before that chain went out the way of the dodo.
Oof.
To be fair, it's starting to make a comeback as far as I'm hearing. But uh, in Tekken 5, I would become acquainted with more familiar faces that arrived on the scene, including like the Asuka Kazuma. She's definitely like one of those pick 'em up and get going type of characters to play as.
It's funny, it's in a sort of way shape. I've heard people in magazines when they were doing previews of her compliment that she kind of has the same vibes as June did in the first three games.
Well, replaying Tekken 2, I could definitely see that because even June had like that one move where if you hold down kick button, you'll charge it up to get a really powerful response. I think Asuka is a little bit more grounded, a little bit more like she's got more weight to it, so that she doesn't feel like you're throwing your arms. Although Arcade June in later stages becomes a pain in the ass, especially when she starts doing a fucking cartwheel move over and over and over again, and it takes like literally like two of those to get a KO.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing going on that for a while too is I know that uh, one of the central recurring characters in the entire franchise is the Mishima family bloodline, which has Old Man Hahachi as being the boss character for a couple of them in the first early drafts, and then you got his son Kazuya, who is sort of the you can argue is one of the many faces of Tekken. I'd argue that the entire Mishima family is the face of Tekken from what I've seen. I mean that's why they're on the thumbnail and all that stuff because you got Heihachi the father, you got Kazuya the son, and then you got Jin, who a lot of people probably consider their favorite character. And if you know how to master him, he's probably one of the most OP guys you can play in any of these games if you know how to do his move set.
I think you also have Lars on there too. He is actually Mishima.
Ah, yes. So yeah, I guess I heard someone describe it as a sort of ongoing soap opera and like in a funny way. Like they were just trying to be like kind of cute, but you can argue that yeah, it really is all about family, like the Saint Fast and Furious, but really is about family matters and the stuff because like in universe the what's the name of the company? The Mishima Zaitsu.
Mishima Saibatsu.
Yeah, Mishima Zaibatsu is a very powerful conglomerate and all that stuff. And usually, these tournaments, whoever wins these tournaments not only gets the prize and the
The
recognition,
cash money, but they also get controlling interest in the company.
which is a big deal. So you're
But,
like,
but usually that prize is laid out just to kind of bait the Mishima players.
well, yeah, because usually it's like a lot of people in the bloodline would want to be like, it's not my time to take rightful place of this because you'll find out that there's a couple of funny traditions that go in every one of these games because of the Mishimas. Like one of my earliest recollections of Tekken before I even became aware of the actual series as a whole is we'd always go to an arcade. We'd play Soul Calibur or Mortal Kombat, but there would always be a Tekken machine, and he was usually Tekken 4. And the thing I would always remember, there's three things. One thing I'd always remember is when you see the 20 years earlier scene where you see a knocked out Kazuya in Hihachi's arms, and he just yeets him off screen. Like, I mean, that eating has become so synonymous with the series that when one of the Smash Brothers had, I think it was Kazuya show up, there was that meme of him dropping various characters off the hill.
Yeah, and of course because freaking Sakurai loves his baby boy, Kirby just gets to get away from it scot free.
But yes, like that's how I remember. And that actually, when I played Tekken 6, they had a recap of the lore up to that point, and I was laughing how many times they would use that storyboard image of one of the Mishimas getting thrown from that fucking cliff. I'm like, it's like a rite of passage, basically. And it's even funnier watching that OVA because if you're just walking in fresh, not knowing anything about this, you'd be like, oh, how cute. Two observations. One, damn, that young kid has some killer eyebrows. Like, we were making so much jokes about the eyebrows every time he came on screen because he was like 12ish, 13. I don't know how young he was, but had these devilish, bushy, like caterpillars on his forehead.
Yeah. The second thing,
Is God, that old guy just threw his son off the cliff for whatever reason. And Derek was laughing because he knows the lore reasons playing the whole series, so he knows when he kept saying, that is totally not what they say later on about his reasons for doing what he did.
oh yeah, the anime of course is trying to follow what little information it has in the series, and literally the series said, yeah, Mashiro just he actually literally threw his son off the cliff just to try to prove that he is Oshima because he seems weak and tepid. And, like Mashiro's supposed to be tough and grizzled and able to survive anything. So a simple toss on the cliff shouldn't be too much for a kid.
It's like, people say, yeah, well, falcons or hawks, when they need their babies to fly, they'll, like, nudge them out the nest. But, like, I don't know. I think it's a bit extreme in this case. But, yeah, though, when we were playing Mortal Kombat, there'd be Tekken, there'd be that part. There'd be the part where there's this military raid. I'm like, this is a fighting game, but I'm seeing all these guys in futuristic spacesuits, like, shooting stuff and invading companies, and all of a sudden there's a Kazuya again, and even the the head of the operations are like, "What? That guy's still alive?" Like, basically, I thought I threw you off a cliff. And of course, the one often repeated moment is when he has the gun to a guy's head and says he'll take everything back from him, and Hachi's like, "Oh, you deluded fool." That was my memory of Tekken up until actually playing it. Was that, and the Dark Resurrection intro, which I remember. Actually, that's another funny thing too. During my research for this thing, I found out that for fighting guys and conservationists and all that stuff, it is rough to get Namco games because they're not in the habit of doing a lot of re-releases. So sometimes you say, if you're trying to do like a retrospective and actually play stuff, to say, oh, maybe they put all the classic Tekkens to buy on the store, or maybe there's a compilation pack. No such thing exists. You either have to buy the actual hardware, like if you have a PlayStation around, you might actually buy. Well, thankfully they changed some of that because Tekken 2 is on the PlayStation Store. But at the time of a lot of stuff, it's like the best way to play the first three was to actually buy Tekken 5 and play the arcade history mode that's on it, which included the full versions of the arcade inside it.
Yeah, I don't think they have the endings that you see in the PlayStation ones.
Yeah, because
Maybe I don't know. Yeah, no, it doesn't.
it's the arcades, and the arcades didn't really have endings. It was like, get to the top of the ladder, spell your name, and everyone knows how badass you are. But yeah, uh, so they also have like they do updates, and they usually give titles to these updates. So like there was Tekken 5, and that was okay. A good foundation, good bones. It's everything Tekken 4 probably was trying to strive to be, but a little more faster, a little more edge combat. Then they made Dark Resurrection, which included more characters. So they included like Lily was brought into that one. I think there's another like fighter that he like killed his master in there and everything like that. Uh, there was a couple of things introduced in that, and then Tekken 6 came out, and that was like okay, and so then they made Battle Revolution, I think, or Bloodline Rebellion, something like that, and that one included more features and like craziness in it. Like the opening cinematic to that has Jin on a motorcycle being chased like with missiles and shit.
Jeez.
And then, like I said, it's just now they keep things stable with 7 and 8. And one thing that's a lot of people I've heard they say is one of the Tekken's greatest strengths would be the way it can reach the casual member versus some like tech savvy fighting games where you have to know pretty much every combo and stuff. Because a lot of the best-selling arcade games that became console stuff, you live or die by how well can someone just pick it up and play. and Tekken's always been pretty accessible, especially 5 onward.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was only just recently that I managed to actually play Tekken 7 and realize, oh my god, they really like ups the accessibility here because they actually did this thing where they'll make like the L1 button allow you to access like cool combos by just pressing like one button, but like it's not like it's not a broken system because you can like you have to hold on to the L1 button to do it. It's not like you just turn it on and like, oh, everything's like really easy now. And even then, like the other player will probably still, but even then, like, it's not like it gives you all the combos. It only just gives you like the four cool moves, but the other player can still whoop your ass because they'll know combos that aren't on that L1 button.
But it's supposed to help ease people into learning the game and becoming really comfortable with the character, I believe, right?
Yeah, and then they also added in these rage arts, which is they act almost the same way as like the supers in starting from Tekken 11 onward, where it's like you're down to your last energy, so you could like do this like all out attack to get the other player down the peg.
And probably less time consuming than the fatal blows. But yeah. So yeah, I heard that they've been doing that recently with Street Fighter Six. Had a great like learn the game naturally, organically, so you can become comfortable type thing that would allow people to actually get good instead of just someone like fumbling around and pros telling you get good scrub.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten in on Street Fighter 6. I got in Street Fighter 5, mostly because it was like a PlayStation exclusive. But yeah, I never actually got 6 yet. Honestly, I think I was kind of put off that they got rid of the flashy flourish title that Street Fighter has always had.
Hmm.
'Cause like that's their thing, man.
Whereas Tekken seems to embrace what's come before while also adding new mechanics to make it more fluid and faster than ever. But it still does like crazy stuff. But like I said, this is a game series where a kangaroo a boxing glove is a serious thing. It's not like, oh, you made this character as a joke. No, like that character has a backstory. It has a plot and everything. So you're like, oh, okay. You got intelligent bear, like we mentioned.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, good luck trying to get Roger though. You have to be able to beat uh beat stage 3 on a great, which is literally means that your health is like 5% like before it hits 0.
Ooh, so
And try to get that like set up to get a victory made is hard, but I fucking managed to get it. So I have Roger unlocked and saved in my memory file as of today.
on top of that, you got sometimes the characters will have armor parts that reach into other Namco games. For example, as a Soul Calibur fan, one of our favorite characters is the mysterious Yoshimitsu, who uses the blade of his chief and fallen master, and he always had like the coolest Oni appearances and stuff. So give us our shock and surprise when Tekken Tag is like next door to Soul Calibur, and who do we see but a more cybernetic but similarly posed Yoshimitsu?
Yeah, I think Namco cheekily said that the universes are kind of canon a little bit. It's mostly like the Yoshimitsu is a title passed down mostly to whoever has the cursed blade that is called Yoshimitsu.
Mm-hmm. And it's really cool, and he does play rather similarly between the games. Only in one of them he uses a flag, and the other one he can shoot missiles at you.
And in part 7, he looks like a fucking hentai monster.
Like, but yeah. So another thing is the character of King is a well known image from the whole thing.
They don't exactly have like big, like huge birthday parties.
Oh, apologies. Let me just get that back there. So, yeah, so I was mentioning there was a king who is a wrestler that or a fighter that wears a jaguar mask, and is like I said, that jaguar mask is iconic. When you see it, you know, oh, that's a Tekken thing. I mean, there's figures of the guy, that you can find out there and find like a jaguar headed guy.
I mean, it makes sense to merchandise him, considering the fact that he literally fights for like the orphans.
So yeah, he's definitely like the good guy. So I think we should probably list off a couple of well-known faces. I think you're gonna have more to say about this than I do, since I knew everybody from MK or second. So, I mean, we already mentioned the Hachis. I think we pretty much mentioned how special they are.
Yeah, it, so it is kind of funny that like both that Heihachi gets the cameo spot of going to Soul Calibur 2 on the PS2, as well as being one of the fighters in that sadly short-lived PlayStation All Stars, where he's apparently a rival to like one of the PlayStation mascot cats, who are just like big fans of him. And he's like, well, respect your elders.
And
And of course, Kazuya gets to say like, well, guess you got that one. I guess I'll just have this open spot on the biggest fighting roster on the planet is Smash Brothers.
yeah, he surpassed his father in that regard. Uh, and I think another famous one that I learned I've come to like watching the whole series as a whole is the Williams sisters, namely Nina and Anna. Nina being probably one of the most recognizable characters. Hell, she got her own poorly received spin-off, but she got one.
Oh yeah, Death by Degrees.
hmm I heard that could have worked, but they made the stupid decision to make it all stick based. I think.
What does stick based mean?
You use one stick to move, and the other stick does all your attacks. But your block and jumps also
Oh,
linked to that stick thing. So I'm sure if it
so
was.
it you're basically it sounds like you're just an ape escape.
Oh no, I'm not saying. I'm just saying it could work when programmed right. But in a fighting game, they clearly because you have your block button linked also to the movement button, and you're like, I mean, the way they did it in the Death by Degrees brawler game, I think if they just did it with traditional forward-facing buttons, it might have actually been a very serviceable 3D brawler. But I just heard that the models looked great and the story was as zany as all hell. But I heard that you had to remember the gameplay hurdle to like really adjust to its playstyle so you can, uh, do it.
Mm.
So yeah, but Nina is a assassin, and is I think if you want to do an alignment, she's probably a little more on the femme fatale bad guy side. I think.
It's it's complicated. She mostly works to whoever is kind of paying the most.
Uh huh. I mean, like,
Anna is Anna's a little bit way more devious than that
oh yeah,
though,
so she's
because she's got a bit of ego on her.
and a chip on her shoulder, always being compared to her best sister, I believe.
Yeah.
Uh, Another one like this is very funny because I have a character with brown hair and shorts and a ponytail that I based off of a Soul Calibur character. Derek thinking,
The first time we engaged with each other, I foolishly like said, "Hey, your character kind of looks like this one girl from the Tekken
and I'm like,
series."
who? I think that was my big reaction. I'm like, actually, it's Soul Calibur, but who? I don't even know who that is. But now that I do know, I think I'd probably say that maybe it could be a little. Uh, okay, now I'm gonna get the two names confused. Julia's the daughter, right?
Yes.
And Michelle is the mom from the previous trilogy, right?
Yeah. She
Yeah.
she was the fighter you played in 1 and 2. She doesn't appear until like Tekken Tag Tournament 2,
Yeah. But yeah,
where
so
she steps in and Julia takes over as like this luchador fighter for a friend.
ooh, I love that outfit, but I did see that outfit once. So Funny enough, I did actually see a bid for a pretty decent price for Tag 2 on the Wii U.
Oh yeah, I forgot it was on the Wii U, but
I,
I still have my PS3 library here, but I've yet to play it. Honestly, I feel like I haven't been able to be playing my PS3 stuff lately because I feel like my controller's sticks are melting. It feels like it's going
ooh,
poorly or something.
ooh, geez, that don't
So,
sound good.
so yeah, I need to find a replacement before I even get back to playing it because I still need to get like DLC for stuff like Azura's Wrath and Street Fighter Cross Tekken if I want the other characters that are available on here.
Oh, that's a good segue. Tekken and Street Fighter had a collab.
Yep, it's supposed to be two, but one of them fell through and eventually evolved into just giving Akuma a canon place in the Tekken 7 story.
Although I did hear that we've had a very recent conference that the director was being mum when one of them brought up a whole thing between them and the company behind Street Fighter, and he cut him off before he could say they're still working on that Tekken X Street Fighter, whereas Street Fighter X Tekken is more like traditional Street Fighter with the Tekken characters as guests. This would have been more like the inverse, where you would have Street Fighter characters playing within the 3D style of Tekken.
I'm so amazed that there's still talks that that's even still a thing that's happening. I thought they would have given it up once the PlayStation 4 came around.
And the fact that this has been talked about for a decade, like there's images and renders and teases and stuff. It's crazy. Anyway, speaking of guest characters, one that caught my attention during this whole run, no doubt, is the fact that they got Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan from The Walking Dead to appear as a character. And I'll admit, the first time I heard it, I kept thinking, well, clearly he's a Mortal Kombat character. Why would you put him in that? Like, foolish me saying that. But think about it, it kind of does make sense with the way, the brawling and the realistic fighting would work out.
Yeah. Plus, like not every like pseudo horror thing has to immediately go to over to Mortal Kombat. I mean, shit, Tekken's got more than enough scary things on their end.
And on top of that, well, I think as monstrous as Negan can be in the series, he is just an average dude, probably no more different than Johnny Cage. Whereas you got guest characters that are like sort of superhuman in some way. Even Rambo, to an extent, is like a trained killing machine, and I think it would make more sense to have someone like, say, John Wick be a Mortal Kombat guest character. Although I think John Wick and Tekken could be pretty cool.
They would definitely like have a showcase his gun kata thing.
Definitely be interesting to see him with Nina. But yeah, but speaking, there is one character on the wish list of many a Tekken fan that has been there since Tekken got a big boost on the PlayStation. There is another game that got a big boost on the PlayStation back in the day, that being Final Fantasy VII. And there's a character perfectly primed and picked to appear in one of these things.
Of course, the fans are a little bit too loud because even the directors said, like, "Look, we haven't actually even talked about if we were going to do guests this time. Just kind of chill out a little bit.
Oh yeah, but
We're still kind of early in this."
But that being is Tifa Lockhart, which with her brawler style and even her graphical appearance matching pretty close to the graphical appearance of the current Tekken games, seems like a match made in heaven for.
Seems almost fitting also considering the fact that really not too long after we're recording this, and the second part of the FF7 remake trilogy comes out. Yeah, Rebirth.
Yeah. And
I still need to I still need to play like my copy, but it's the PS4, so I would have to unlock the integrated version through the store.
Man, remember when you could get everything in a single disc and that was it? Sorry, I don't mean to be one of those.
To be fair, they back then when they made like Final Fantasy VII, the most of the backgrounds was just like literally like what's the term when it's just mostly like background image. It's not really
Pre-rendered.
interactive. Yeah, pre-rendered. But if they wanted to make to match with the graphical abilities to make it look like it's a living, breathing world, obviously you can't really cut corners here.
Mm-hmm. I understand. So, I mentioned King, Jaguar head guy. Yoshimitsu is his long-standing frame. There's a person with the Chinese police, if I recall.
Lei Wulong.
Lei Wulong, yeah. And I think he's like what you could argue is the Bruce Lee analog type for this kind of game.
No, that would be Martial and Forest Law.
Martial Law.
Yeah.
That's his name, Martial Law. Sorry, I don't
Yep.
mean to. Yeah. And I think there was the big dude.
No, I think Lei Wulong is supposed to be kind of a Jackie Chan kind of deal.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Jackie Chan. And was Ganyu there back in the beginning?
He was starting in second.
Ah, yeah, but big sumo wrestler.
Like a sumo wrestler who has a thing for the Changs, both of them.
Well, he,
Yeah.
yeah, he made a crack during the anime when I think it was Michelle was able to like give Ganyu a good hit, saying that's for hitting on me and my daughter, you bastard. And I mentioned the Williams. There was also Paul, is that his name?
Paul Phoenix,
Paul
from,
Phoenix.
from the very beginning. He's actually friends with the Law family,
Cool.
and obviously trained with them. Although he has this recurring funny thing where the one obstacle that always kept getting his way in every Tekken game, mostly, is freaking Kuma. Well, up until 7, where Kuma is somewhere else, and instead the fighter that he has to fight is Panda.
I guess him and Bears just don't get along. Okay, so
Yeah, but no, I remember the funniest thing is my dad always wanted to play as Paul Phoenix, mostly because his middle name is Paul. So, one Paul to another and all that
oh yeah,
kind of thing.
but like he says, this is a guy that's been there, an OG that's been there since day one. So like, if he had a Mortal Kombat equivalent, it's like who's like been there present on almost everything, like Sub Zero. I mean, not in terms of like ability and
Personality and
character,
all that. No.
but in terms of like he's been there since day one. Because I think Sub Zero has appeared in every Mortal Kombat game. Not even the fan child favorite Scorpion can say that because he was missing for one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tekken 1, I'm looking real quick just because I
Yeah, Paul's definitely a Bruce if you're able to know how to input his commands. He'll have this one move where he'll literally charge up and gut butt punch you and send your character right across the field.
yeah. Also, he's got that flat top haircut that's become like synonymous with his look.
Yeah. Up until 8 where he just kind of has it like lax, although you can unlock to have his hairstyle return.
Yeah, so there's also looking here. There's Jack, who is our Terminator stand-in. And I watched the anime. I'm like, this guy is huge, and turns out that he's a robot.
Yep. The robot with a mission.
But yeah, and I remember actually saying I only knew this robot for all of 15 minutes, but I feel so bad for his arc. And relax, he'll be fine. In fact, that character he's trying to help save ends up actually building another one of him. They're the
Yep.
same components and stuff. Yeah. So I'm looking at unlockable characters. Yeah, there's Garnu, unplayable in arcade version. The Devil, Armor King, which I think that's the Master of King. Anna.
No, Armor King is actually a separate character from King.
Really now.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, and then there's Lee. That guy. In the anime,
Do not let the OVA anime fool you. He does not act like that.
yeah, I know.
He's way more reserved and cool-headed than that.
I'm very hilarious in Blood Vengeance. You told me of all the things they could do with Paul, you chose to make him the very flamboyant school teacher that lets the girls stay in his
He,
opulent mansion.
yeah.
Yeah, you thought that was more funny to you because you know how he is in the game. So to see him act this way, you're like, oh. But they do give a hint to his like game personality with how.
It's even funnier considering the fact that this the anime wouldn't be the first time he's like keeping someone like in to recuperate.
Well, you're right. So Anna, Garnu, Devil, Kuma, King, Law, Kunamitsu. Huh.
Oh yeah, Kunimitsu is like this ninja who has like this fox mask, and her goal is to steal the Yoshimitsu blade.
Oh, so kind of like ongoing rivalry thing. Huh. Yeah, Paul, and then there's Master Wang.
Or that's the way you can think of it as like if Master Roshi, if he actually stayed chill, didn't like become a leery leech.
Lee, and then like I said, unlockable Roger and Tekken 2.
And Roger also has the alternate costume skin to be Alex, the raptor, with a pair of boxing gloves. And,
Okay.
oh my god, the endings of the tag tournament games with that dinosaur are just the funniest shit you'll ever see.
Yeah, I remember watching the OVA and being saying we got. I was making engine jokes before actually knowing there were dinosaurs in this thing. So when the dinosaurs actually showed up, I'm like, I was just kidding. I said. Yeah. So Yoshimitsu is a long-standing character. I'm looking because I'm going to the rosters individually. Oh, Brian appeared in Tekken 3, and that's a guy I started to actually also get a cool affinity for. You know, he's a guy with enhancements, I believe. Bit of a bruiser.
Yeah, he's the guy that looks to cause a like. There's people that want to start like a rumble in a bar. This guy wants to cause a freaking war on the streets.
Right, yeah. I see Eddie Guerrero was introduced in 3. Oh, Homerang. Actually, that's one of the few male characters I'm really good at sampling because I love how his hits go. Kind of reminds me of Huang from Soul Calibur, but yeah, Homerang is another good one.
Actually, in Tekken 2, you can fight unlock his master back.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, Baek.
Yeah,
He
Meg.
has pretty much the same type of moveset.
There's the Mokujin, which when they were revealed in the Blood Vengeance movie, that the purpose was even Derek. No, that's all wrong. No,
This is not how Mokujin work.
I see Law, Kuma, King. There's some Kotal Khan looking motherfucker named Ogre.
Oh yeah, Ogre is like one of the final boss villains that they make in almost every Tekken game. He's supposed to be like this warrior that arrives to challenge like those with great might. It basically kind of got the same like mystique as Akuma does.
Mm-hmm. I see Panda appeared in this game, as did Zayu. Will become a mainstay favorite, one of your mains.
The young Chinese schoolgirl who stowed away on one of Heihachi's cruise liners, and when it arrived ashore, all of the security were found knocked out.
Damn.
And of course, Heihachi's response to that is, "Great, I'm gonna get you a scholarship to one of my polytech schools, and oh yeah, I'll train you and give you this panda that I trained personally to protect you."
So he's not entirely a bad guy. It seems.
No. When he sees like actual potential in somebody, he actually goes for that.
Well, that's good. He knows a good investment when he sees one, it sounds like. So in Tekken 4, I see Eddie, Horang, Kazuya, Julia, the daughter, yeah, who's got a very. It's so funny for some reason. As the games went on, Julia's alternate costume strayed away from her mother and looked more like Mari Makanami from the Evangelion series before Mari was even a thing. Those glasses.
Her whole stick was like trying to restore ravaged environments and forests through science and technology, and like trying to find like it basically trying to figure out how to evoke that one little plant to survive the shattered Earth in Wally.
Yeah. So here's new characters. Christy, who becomes a fan favorite, I believe.
Chrissy Montero, the same moveset as Eddie Caballero from her grandfather, who in turn helped train Eddie with that style.
Marduk is here, it looks like.
Marduk is one of the other wrestler type characters, has a rivalry with King, and also may have been involved with the Armor King's death, although there's Armor King still going around, so are you dealing with ghosts, zombies, or what?
And then there's Steve, the boxer.
Oh yeah, Steve is actually Nina's son, but in a way that her genes were, without her consent, taken while she was in cryonesis between the gaps between 2 and 3, and built Steve.
Wow, the more I look into this, the more like a soap opera it really is becoming. But in a good way. So there's Anna, Bike, Kitty, and this
Back,
is
yeah.
this is 5. Kazuya, of course, King, Marduk, Clay, Nina, Wang, Steve, Paul, Zayu. Oh, damn! The more the games go on, the more they make Yoshimitsu look weird, man.
I know, it's weird.
So new characters, like we already mentioned, Asuka. That's one of his favorites. Fang. That's the guy I saw in the intro that was like punching
Well,
coals and
Fang
shit.
was the master that attacked Asuka's uh, father and also trainer of his dojo.
Jack 5. There's Raven
Yeah.
with his blade looking as.
Raven's a ninja who works for the UN.
Like I said, he looks a lot like Blade. They even said that in the Game Informer magazine when they first mentioned him. And ooh, here's Jinpachi, the father of Heihachi.
Yep, and again he's like possessed by a demonic entity that, and he becomes the cheapest son of bitch fighters to fight until you learn to be able to spam like the crouch kick, high kick, back and forth. And with most characters, it works that way. With certain ones like Christy and Eddie, who won't stop moving the fuck around for 2 seconds to keep themselves steady, you kind of have to go with it. But most of the time, you can actually cheese the guy.
Now, Tekken 6.
I felt like the dumbest idiot on the planet when I found that one YouTube comment that brought that up, and I went like,
That can't work, can
bullshit,
it?
that actually works. And it does it, it really wins. And like, oh, fuck you, internet.
So, as I mentioned in 6, Elisa, based off the appearance of the daughter of the robotics professor, Dr. Boskanovich, that's the one that ended up being my gateway into this. We got Bob, big husky fella, but really good stats from what I've seen. Most pro players tend to use Bob in online circuits and shit.
It's so funny. I remember one of the old PlayStation magazines kind of molded me grown that like a lot of video game players like a lot of video games don't like showcase like those that are kind of like a big bulky nature. They're always like players that are big chiseled and like the
Lean.
oh god this was the PS2 era, so the magazine for PlayStation at Europe was kind of immature to say the least.
Uh-huh.
And so they had this Photoshop of fucking Jin Kazama with the beer gut belly. And I'm pretty sure somewhere Harada looked at that and went like, huh, why don't we actually do something like that?
I mean, ask anybody who's fought the Kingpin. Some big fellas really have a big punch with that girth. And I guess that's what Bob has.
Oh, Bob actually managed to understand how to use his weight to his advantage, to the fact that he's actually pretty fast with it too.
Yeah, that's what, when I saw the video with him, I'm like, this fat guy's not gonna. Oh shit, he actually did.
How can we that fat was fucking fast?
And then Lars, leader of a rebellion against the Mishimas. He's the primary the game character you play in the console version in the campaign with Amnesia. Really cool move sets on this guy. I actually do kind of like the guy. He also has a lion motif going on, it looks like.
Hmm.
Oh, and speaking of lions, here's Leo. They are a character where they play very coy about the gender and age of this character because you think, oh, this very androgynous looking, youngster who's avenging their spelunking mom who might have been killed by the Mishimas and got some really good move sets and stuff. And even the Wikipedia plays coy about Leo's actual identity and gender and stuff for some reason.
And no, this isn't one of those cases where it's like, oh, for the pronoun they them. It's like, no, they flat out like are just like kind of raising their arms like, I don't know, the design just looked good. We're just sticking with that.
Yeah, and then
Like
there's
they're not just being like obtuse about it just to be snarky about it. They're just like literally like they don't know. Like just they can't decide. They literally just I don't know.
because at times you could say, oh, Leo's clearly a young man, and then the voice in the lines will throw you off and be like, maybe. And that doesn't really matter. Leo actually kicks ass, and actually that's one I'm considering maining in 6. Um, there's Miguel, who from the intro I'm gathering is wanting revenge for the bombing of his sister's wedding where she was a casualty, and pretty pissed off about it.
Yeah, he wants Jin's head on a platter, pretty much.
Oh, that's the funny thing. Jin is supposedly like the guy you're like, oh, he's the Mishima we're rooting for, and he causes World War III in Part 6, and you're like, that's how we're opening.
I mean, to, okay, so basically, I'm just gonna explain it to like this. The dude has had to deal with his like moments where he becomes a devil Jin, and it's not like we're Kazuya who managed to actually like at the end of his campaign in 4, his arcade campaign in 4, they like overcomes this like devil part and actually is fully in control of it, like to a T. Like he can use that power to do however he pleases with it, and he doesn't have to involve like a second consciousness with it or whatever. But Jin, it's kind of like he has a problem with it's like a Hulk problem essentially. There's like two personalities are warring at each other.
So Kazuya is really good at mastering his, but Jin's still in the dark about his.
Well, to be fair, his bloodline is fucking messed up. He's got the actual source of the Devil Jade. He's got Ushida's blood, and he's also got June's blood in, who has like this spiritual energy about her. It's like putting like the good and the bad and the ugly in one pot and expecting something good to come out.
He's poor guy's a cocktail.
Yeah,
Volatile. Oh, and then there's Zafina.
it's so he's essentially like literally at his wit's end, where he just needs to deal with this curse as he sees it, and the only way to do that is to set the world into chaos and violence, so that the negative energy can actually wake up what is assumed to be the source of the devil gene, the god Azazel that's slumbering in Egypt.
Looks
And
like
then he can go and kick its ass and evil essentially.
yeah, he looks like Ridley from Metroid mixed with an Egyptian god, and he's. When I saw the intro to 6, I'm like, okay, then I see that thing show up, and I'm like, uh, I know Derek warned me this series can go batshit, but it just caught me off guard to see this big old hulking Yu-Gi-Oh monster as a boss.
Yeah, yeah, it's of course one of the hardest son of the bitches you're gonna have to deal with because he's fucking fast.
Yeah, I know. I played the arcade short version where you get to go up to him right away, and then I restarted him a lot of times. So then he does have a bitch in arena though. So then there's Zafina, the one who's like trying to like prevent Azazel's return.
And who else got introduced in 6?
There's Elisa, Azazel, Bob, Jack, 6, Lars, Leo, Miguel, Zafina, and then we have 7. Let's see, a lot of The rosters just got bigger, but it never became cluttered. So, in a way, Jin doing that destabilization was for a sort of good thing, huh?
Anyway, but then he gets knocked out of commission for a bit because allows Kazuya and Hihachi to resume their business.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of bad blood between them. Oh, there's also Sergei Dragunov,
Oh yeah, Sergei Dragunov, dude doesn't talk at all,
the Russian, right?
and yeah,
There's Claudio Serafino, new character.
yeah, it's weird. Like I know there's like all of these new fighters in Tekken 7, but I haven't really
You're not
played
really.
them out through arcade. Okay, so basically how I deal with getting arcade endings for the character endings for Tekken 7 is you're once you actually go through the main campaign of 7, you unlock like character episodes, which is really just one fight with a certain rival, and then that's it. That's all you get for your ending.
Oh,
There's a cutscene that plays after.
new character is Katarina alive. Oh, they have a cat girl named Lucky Chloe. Aw.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of gotta sit with the Lucky Chloe for some reason. I don't know.
Should I dare ask?
It's nothing too grody about it. It's more something about culture and all that.
Ah, I see. Martial law, Paul, Shaheen. Ooh, Steve. Steve is back. And he looks like how he did in the movie. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. And then Xiaoyu, post arcade launch, Jin, Devil Jin, Josie, Raziel, Gigas, Yoshimitsu, Jack 7, Kazumi Mishima. Huh. Favorite child.
Yep, that is the wife of Heihachi.
Bob is back. Master Raven. Eddie Gordo.
Master Name is like a different one.
Eddie Gordo, Kuma, Lee Shaolin, Miguel Caballero Rojo as Miguel back again. Panda and Violet being a costume supposedly. Elisa. Geese. There's a guy named Geese. Geese Howard. Oh, and
Utah is one of the yeah
he's one
uh,
of the what now?
the King of Fighters.
That's crazy. And then you got guest of Noctis from Final Fantasy Versus. Anna Julian Negan. His last name is
Yeah,
Smith? Huh.
I thought Noctis was from Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, 15. Zafina
It was
Ganu.
that's what they called it after years of being called Final Fantasy Versus 13.
New character Leroy Smith and Fakuram. Another Kunimitsu. Lydia Sorbiska?
Yeah, I haven't gotten to buy the season pass sets for 7, so I'm kind of like in the dark of most of them.
There's a game story mode, and they got young Kazuya in there, and he's still got those damn eyebrows. The Jacks, yeah. So, and now we're up to Tekken 8, which we have a lot of returning faces, but the new character, one that I know already caught Derek's eye right away is Reina, or Regina.
No, yeah, it's Reina.
Reina, yeah. Queen, that's what the name translates to in Spanish. I'm sure there's a reason for that. So there's new character Azucena Milagros Ortiz Castillo.
Assassina. She is obsessed with coffee.
I can
And
tell.
really watching her trailer, I might actually even try some.
Is it? It's a real
Like,
coffee?
wait, no. I'm saying to actually try coffee because like she glorifies the damn thing.
Okay, so we got Jin, Horang, not a lot of. Oh, that Jack 8 looking crazy. Kazuya, Kuma, Lars, Beck, Marshall, Law, Leo, Leroy, Lee, Lily, Nina, Panda, Paul, Raven, Reina. Like that's the one that's got. They got animations about her already. It's pretty funny. And Victor the Chevalier. That's another new guy. But a lot of
That
returning
that
faces.
that that dude's Raven's boss.
Ah, so
Although
for
they also made a big deal that like a certain actor is playing him.
really now. Let me look who did him. Yeah, but Victor the Chevalier. Yeah, but like from the UN, I guess, since he said he's Raven's boss, and played by United Nations. Vincent Cassel, who is a French actor. So that's like getting Jean Reno one of your things, I guess. Oh shit, he's been in like Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, Jason Bourne. Yeah, oh yeah, so he's not just some no name guy. They actually got a guy to like portray this character. On that note, like we mentioned before, there's other tech and media. Oh, before I should get to that part, another thing we mentioned the merchandising. Derek did tell me this is such a crucial thing to his upbringing that he actually went to the effort of looking for the Tekken toys that existed at the time.
Yeah, there were Tekken 3 action figures. I think we got a handful of them. Um, I know we got Force Law. We also got uh, Ling Xiaoyu. She had to be the absolute must-have.
Uh huh. Of
Oh, we also got Heihachi.
course. Speaking of which,
I can't remember if we got anyone else.
yeah,
So I'm sure the rest of them are kind of buried up in the attic somewhere.
but yeah, there's a new some new figures at Bandai. Since Bandai is close to Bandai Namco, no doubt it'd be easy to make figures for stuff. But yeah, like I see right now they got something called Tekken Dimensions, and that has King, that has Jin, which looks really good, and they have a Kazuya and Heihachi. So it makes sense. You know for a fact if they make an Elise, I'm definitely jumping on top of that. And I'll say, look,
Yep.
her head
Yes,
is supposed to
yes,
come
and
off.
Funko Pops, and I have just the one, the Devil Jin. Oh, I'm lucky I actually got him, considering the fact that I looked him up, and apparently he's retailing for like $80 if you're strictly around Amazon.
For real?
Oh yeah, I think it was like kind of one of those chase variants.
Dang. So then, I mentioned the other media. They have an anime movie which we saw, and like you said, it gets really silly at a point. And also, there's a funny tradition that comes out of nowhere, and that there's always like a shower scene in these things. I don't know why.
Well, actually played Tekken 2 just recently. If you actually play through Anna's playthrough, her character ending involves her getting a shower and then Nina taking a picture of her just to get some blackmail.
Oh, okay. So there's a precedent for it. So we saw that.
Well, I'm not gonna give it that slack because I definitely could still write this under like, well, Street Fighter 2 did the shower scene. Let's have our shower scene happen here. Especially since the fact that it just like comes out of nowhere after like because he is attempted assassination and literally the music that's playing in that is still playing while it cuts to her in her the shower.
Oh, another thing too, though. The OVA is infamous among some fans for actually having a localized soundtrack. Some would argue a soundtrack that doesn't even fit at times. We're going, why are we playing a song like that during a scene like this? Then sometimes the music would be so loud it kind of overpowers some of the dubbing. And I was laughing at some of the delivery because mid '90s voice acting, where if you got someone in front of a mic, they probably could read for you. Whether it be good or bad depends on who was behind it, and you just go, it's not a terrible dub, but it's not exactly the kind of dub you'd write home for about.
This is this is definitely not a Funimation dub. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's not even an ocean dub.
Oh my god! I mean, at least it would be a little bit entertaining if it was an ocean dub.
Well, Lee was at least funny. He has this one line where even Derek's all like, "That could be so weaponized for gatekeeping people."
Ah, I'll never give it up, not to anyone. Ah.
I don't understand why he didn't go for the nearest escape thing. I don't know. Oh yeah, but like even you telling me, don't worry, Lee is nothing like this in the actual series. So
No, he's way more uh, reserved, confined, and is honestly more focused on setting out making combat, which is supposed to be like a replacement for Mokujin to like mimic and mirror other fighters. In
Well,
fact, I think there's actually like this mode in Tekken 6 where you can actually play through as combat to like play. I guess it's like a survival mode almost.
cool. And oh man, the so we watched that, and then we decided to watch the famous or infamous, depending on where you are.
The live action 2010 Tekken movie
Which was
had
supposed.
only had a theatrical release in Japan.
And of course, it was so far removed from what Hirata considered Tekken that he's all but disavowed it.
Yeah, like who needs to see a movie that doesn't involve like family squabblings, mostly involved with like evil genes and all that. Like
Which
apparently, like all they were focused on in this movie were the fact that it's about a fighting tournament
so
thing.
here's the funny thing. So what happened is out. I suggest you guys watch that Matt McMuscle's What Happened on the Tekken movie, and that it's funny how this even came about because the guy who produced it has like a lot of hands in a lot of like big productions, and he happened to be very good friends with one of the guys who had a board on the seat of Namco. And that guy practically gave him the keys to Tekken without him asking much. He says, "Yeah," because he was him and the other guy were in an apartment, and they played Tekken. He saw, "This would make a really good movie," and the guy just gave him the option rights, going, "Well, you go ahead and make that movie." Like shit, and it took him years to get funding, to get people involved, directors. They had the drumline director involved at one point. Jackie Chan and Jet Li were going to be in that thing.
Oh man,
But one thing's led to another. I mean, they also there's a whole book. I think it's called Lights, Camera, Game Over that Matt cites as a source that talks about how one of the first initiatives they said was to not make it like Mortal Kombat, the movie, that just came out because Annihilation had just happened and all that stuff, and I think they didn't want to like make a video game movie that was well,
oh yeah, too overbearing with like familiar faces and not enough action drama, plot delivery.
well, like the budget was going to be different. They, like I said, they had different stars involved. At one point, The Rock was considered to be in it. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, right when his career was really taking off, and he was going to be playing the role of King. Imagine that.
I can kind of see it. I mean, they're both wrestlers, so
I mean, just imagine the Rock wearing that Jaguar mask at time. I bet you, knowing movies and FaceTime, they probably would have found a reason for King to take off the Jaguar mask, but
oh no, that if they did that, they would probably had a riot from like the fan base, and also like luchadors because that's also kind of a luchador thing.
But I think the Kazuya storyline and the Hahachi storyline and everything was Hahachi was going to be an actual combatant at a point, like, and this is funny. They say they don't want it to be like Mortal Kombat, but one of the plot lines they were considering involved Hahachi luring people to these tournaments so that he can take their life force, kind of like stealing someone's soul. And it's even funnier given who they casted as Hahachi in this movie.
Yeah. Carry.
Yeah, Kari Hirotagawa, who was Shang Tsung, went on to play the sheep, Hachi. And what's funny is, if you ask me, I think Derek could tell I was really involved whenever he was on screen. So when they recreated the iconic 5 scene where there's an explosion and they even say to the camera, Hachi Mishi.
Hayashi Yoshida is dead.
I even said, we didn't even get a fight with him? Nope, not one fight. Like, but he said, but Carrie's not exactly a spring chicken in 2010, so I don't know if we could expect him to do the same moves he did in MK, but I was like, oh, because he had gravitas and presence. Oh, we were laughing mostly at me being all like, this is Kazuya?
Oh yeah, the guy they got, and apparently they think You know what Kazuya needs? Fucking facial hair.
and a gun, and a lot of like behind the scenes conniving, which people Derek says it is kind of in character for him to be like I have a lot of string manipulation and stuff, but it was almost like he was more like an adaptation of the OVA Lee than Kazuya.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, also, what's great is that Yoshimitsu was brought in, and one of the guys who made this movie, one of his favorite mains, was Yoshimitsu. So it makes sense why he would get a really good costume in the one scene that he's in, where he does like a really good, fight scene with Jin. And I gotta say, John Fu does a really good job in the role of Jin, where he does, he does really capture the look, and I think once he does the fighting,
He's got the attitude down too, especially it's kind of wavering between having his revenge streak and also like looking out for like the underdogs.
although I kept laughing and getting annoyed every time they referred to him as you have all these great names like Eddie Guerrero and Christy Montanaro, and here's Jin, the
The
people's
people,
choice. Because I know they're supposed to reveal later that he's a he's a Kazuya, and that's a big revelation. Like, oh, he's a Kazama, and they don't really do much with that. It's Ian Anthony Dale who plays Kazuya, and funnily enough, Ian Anthony Dale played Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat Rebirth short.
huh?
Uh, but they have Brian Fury who is on model. They got Nina and Anna, but we don't even see Anna fight. In fact, when they're doing a montage at the end of the end credits where you're showing all the fighters and their highlights, Anna's highlight is being in bed.
Aaron doesn't do a damn thing.
It was a shame because watching the OVA, I really love the rivalry dynamic Anna and Nina had. So watching them both show up, and then they don't do nothing with that. I mean, Nina got a fight at least. Anna, but the
Like, well, I guess that's just for my screen presence. I'll just fade in the background.
and it's a shame too because she's one of the characters who looked like she walked off the screen pretty well from the source material. Oh fuck! That's who was Steve. Sorry, I just realized one of my favorite actors that's a character actor was Steve, and I didn't realize him because he was bald.
Oh, yeah, who is it?
Luke Goss, who was the Prince Nawada in Hellboy 2, and Frankenstein's monster in the Hallmark Frankenstein adaptation.
Huh?
I know there was a reason I liked Steve, but I didn't recognize him. Like June is in it pretty well. Martial Law has a great scene. It's his only scene, but it's a great scene, and people say that's pretty much on model and on brand for the character, right?
Yeah, pretty much just kind of a showboat.
Uh, Miguel Rojo, I don't know if he's any close. Sergey was pretty close to his source, but Sergey's meant to be axed off. Spoiler, but it's an old movie. Uh, there's yeah, Eddie Gordo was actually on model, and there was Raven. Only I think they made his costume white, probably to avoid confusion with Blade. Probably, I don't know.
To be fair, one of Raven's alt costumes is white, so.
But I'll say he was pretty much on model. He had the scar, the voice was right. He was another guy. Say it looked like he just walked off the pixels and became an actual flesh and blood character.
Oh yeah, Christy was also in there. Although I'm pretty like certain that they changed her fighting style to be stand out different from Eddie's Corporea. So I think they kind of gave her like a I don't know. It wasn't as flashy as like or dance happy as her game counterpart is.
Mm-hmm.
Although the costume design was just like on point, right down to the fact that she's got those low cuts there, like just low down in her ass.
Yeah, and I think they tried to make her and Jin a thing in this movie.
Which Jin doesn't really have exactly a love partner, and even most game fans would kind of argue that Shayu's kind of looking out for him mostly as like a schoolmate that grew up with him.
So then, there's also some girl brought into the mix named Kara, who's one of his flings that he's doing with while June is getting attacked by the Mishima Corporation. Oh, also, they call all the standard soldiers Jacks, but we don't actually get a Jack. But they're wearing the Stormtrooper armor, so to speak, so...
Yeah, they're supposed to be like the equivalent of the Tekken Force.
The Taken Force, yeah. Oh, and also, God, oh my God, this movie got its budget so reduced back. They were reduced to using stock footage for their opening, like Godzilla 1998's Reigning Command Center. Like, I was blinking, like, and even Dark thought, "Oh, hi, Godzilla 1998." I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah,
There's like a war scene from another. It's just so funny because they mentioned how after a certain point, the companies all started a huge war, and the only one that survived was the Tekken Force, Iron Fist Tekken Force. But then Derek was confused, saying, "Isn't the translation of Tekken Iron Fist anyway?" So you're going,
wouldn't that be confusing with the Japanese?
yeah, the strongest of these companies was Tekken. I guess they didn't want to see the Mishima as Aibatsu, but. What's funny is we ended up really gelling with it. It's not the best video game movie out there, but it's not the worst. I mean, it's not Mortal Kombat Annihilation by any means.
Definitely no King of Fighters movie.
Oh, good.
My God,
I remember.
it's not a good thing when your best part of your movie is Ray Park just like hamming it up and just going off script.
Reminds me of that Angus McFadden as Komodo in Warriors of Virtue, just going completely apeshit, and he ends up being the best part of that movie with kangaroos. God, imagine if one of these movies tried to put Roger in as an actual thing. If the live action movies tried that, but what's funny is how it talks about you get the hopeful ending with Jin defeats Kazuya, and he walks off, but then the narration gets an ominous thing saying we thought this was going to be the start of something great, but terror actually like they're alluding to the fact that Jin might end up going crazy or something. I don't know, and it has the gall to have an after credit sequence that shows you an earlier scene again where you go, oh wait, so they didn't blow up Hahashi.
But wait, why did he just come at the end of the movie anyways?
But yeah, I know they did end up making a movie that neither me nor Derek wanted to see called Kazuya's Revenge, where I have not heard one good thing about that one. They have a different actor playing Kazuya though, and they did bring back Tagawa, so there's that. But I heard that it was so generic action movie it could have been any other movie without the Tekken brand. But I don't know, I heard it just wasn't good. It's on YouTube if you're curious, but if you have to just watch one of them, I do say just watch the first one. It's not bad. It's actually I think it's halfway decent. I know we kind of did geek out a little bit when Paul gave him his old boxing gloves and boxing bracers, and they're the Kazuya mitts. I mean the Kazama mitts that Jin's famous for wearing. In fact, he even does the pose, and even Derek's like, "Yep, that's a Jin thing right there." Yeah, so this movie didn't go over so well with the creators. They thought, fine, we'll make a movie that's by the fans and for the fans, with Tekken Blood Veterans, a CG movie. Because they have all these over-the-top dramatic, cinematics in their openings. They figure, why don't we just make a full movie out of that? And it is strange. I'll say that right now.
It's not canon. Let's just flat out admit that.
Yeah.
Even the creator itself just kind of looked around and went, canon. I didn't say that.
Okay, good thing about it, by the way, me being introduced to the series through Elisa, it has a lot of Elisa bonding with Zayu and this thing, and it is some of the cutest stuff you will ever see. in my view. I mean, there's a whole deal with the panda teaching her how to use rocket fist, which comes into a climactic point. But at the same time, and he got them being chased by Anna a lot of the time, and Nina like pops up every now and then. But every time they're about to do the Anna Nina rivalry fight, something will get in their way to like not let it happen, or it'll happen off camera.
Yeah, they still blue ball you in that aspect.
And then of course, there's some funny things like you have Garnu as a gym teacher. Uh,
He's not in the games.
And what's another thing that? Oh yeah, where I want. Okay, I'm into this movie. You know, it's kind of like a little Pinocchio storyline. You know, Sayu's like bonding with Elisa, and she's concerned about what was the name of that poor fool Shin,
Yeah.
who doesn't amount to a hill of beans once the real third act begins. And you go like, what was the point of following this then?
Nothing. It was all led to nothing.
Exactly. Like they make you really emotionally invested in how Zayu feels about this, and Elisa wants to help out too. And then they just like saying, "Well, let's throw this plot point in. Let's get the fan service in." And they have Hahashi Mishima, thought to be dead from a heart attack or stroke, whatever, off screen, is now he's back and ready to brawl it up with Jin and Kazuya again.
Also, there's the fact that in this movie, Alyssa admits to Xiaoyu that she is a robot, where, as in the games, Alyssa kind of denies that she is a robot.
Yeah, she's kind of unaware.
It's kind of unaware at first, and then also it's just kind of trying to hide from, like, too much pressure from that.
Yeah. Although, like he says, as an Elisa fan, I did start getting very, oh no, when shit really went down, where Kazuya and Jin are like, fighting, and they activate a standby protocol. And then things go apeshit once Hahashi is seemingly defeated, and then he decides to use the power of the Mokujin to, like, make this big old rock monster kaiju come out of the ground.
Which monster?
Oh, God. Demon Derek's all, that is not how any of that works. Ooh. And then, if the funniest equivalent I can think about, it's kind of like when Jim Carrey builds all that train yard stuff and everything to make the giant egg robot, Mega Egg, show up. And that's the equivalent of it, man. And then Elisa's rocket fist ends up distracting Hachi long enough for the spirits to rebel. And and also Jin has full control of his devil form in this non-canon time entry, but even Derek saw that misses the whole...
No, he doesn't have control of this damn thing at all. Oh, it doesn't even look like what he looks like when he becomes a devil.
Oh, his devil form made Derek say, what the fuck is this? Because at least Jin's devil form, Kazuya's devil form was consistent with how it's been portrayed before enough, maybe a little more sleeker, but he thought, yeah, Kazuya's devil form works out. But this...
I don't know.
It's just, I don't know. Thankfully, it ends on a sweet note with Elisa and Zayu. But and Panda does a lot of stuff in this movie. I mean, he hauls ass like crazy in this movie. It's pretty funny. She, sorry. New still. Yeah. Panda.
Yeah, Panda's a she because Kuma is always going after her and trying to win her heart, but Panda's just not having any business with that.
Oh, so it's like Butterfree and the pink Butterfree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, oh god. But
although this Butterfree essentially can slap there in the face.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But like it says though, Zayu and Panda's awesome, Elisa's awesome. Like if it was just a whole road trip adventure with them, I would be giving so much high marks, but I'm sure the fans would be all like, wait, this is a Tekken movie, where's all the other fighters? Like hell, there's no tournament in this movie. Even Derek saw at least the OVA and the
live action one had the tournament. But this doesn't have that.
They hint at it at the end, don't they?
Yeah, they do, but it's not even like I said, it's not even canon. And also, like Elisa's goals to join the tournament isn't even close to what the movie is. It's supposed to be to save Jin's soul.
Mm-hmm. But oh my goodness, I guess at least Zaryus makes the movie for me. Otherwise, it'd be all like I was completely lost and had no idea what the fuck we just went through. But because of them, I was able to find an anchor point to say, okay, I kind of get it. But it really does go batshit the minute Hachi decides to become an acting figure in this thing. Because uh, Jin's plan is to bait out Kazuya, and Kazuya's plan is to bait out Jin, and they both use these poor girls as their pawns to like advance the chessboard.
You know, really just turns out they could have at least just gone over, find each other, and just had a smackdown if they just like called each other up and say, "Hey, you want to throw down? Yeah, I want to throw it down. Where?
No, it just has to be he's hiding, so this will draw him out this information, and we'll put the information in our agent, and our agent will have the information. That's poor Shin is just a plot device to draw them out. And once he dies, I'm all like, oh no, not him, like that. Oh no, not him. And I was so invested.
Yeah, like, let's see if there seems to be some positive in this that uh, in an interview, Harada did say that he would always view the characters as just a collection of data. And after the creation of the film, he did start to see the characters could become more human-like and emotionally engaging. Probably would help how it led to Tekken 7 and Tekken 8 having like full-on campaigns.
You can kind of
Like,
you can kind of see that data mindset in Tekken 6's campaign because oof, it's a little not that it's bad, but it's kind of rough. I'll say that right now. It is rough when I'm playing. I mean, the arcade mode is much more entertaining than and the individual story modes are fun, but the overall campaign, the brawler, and then you got the Kazuya and Jin popping up every now and then to say everything's going as planned, basically.
yeah, it's weird.
But seven,
I don't think I've ever actually beaten that when they had the game of 360.
I mean, the arcade mode is where it's really where it's at. Online and arcade modes we're really going to play. So, have you gotten Tekken 8 yet?
No, I'm expected that to be a birthday gift.
Makes sense. I'm probably going to jump in on that after I'm done with 6 and 7. By that point, I should probably have enough on reserve to get the sucker. But I'm definitely invested for sure right now. Like, I think faster than MK. In fact, that's the funny thing about Tekken 8's arrival is that it's coming right at an opportune moment where Mortal Kombat 1 is kind of already been out for a while and all of its tricks and stuff has been known for now. And the content is being slowly drip fed, even slower than it was for MK11. So it kind of feels like, oh, great, new character, Quan Chi, okay. Wait, wait. Then Peacemaker's going to show up eventually, but it doesn't feel like. With MK11, there was a lot of shit you could do to like really keep your time until you say, oh, and all of a sudden we're down to the next season character. But with MK1,
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Mortal Kombat 1 has that dumb board game thing, which I tried to get invested into, and it seemed to be going somewhere, and I was like, this is tedious. I'm out of here.
exactly. Like I only really play MK1 for the character mode, story modes, and the main story itself, because I love the damn narrative. But uh, Towers of Time at least gave you a lot of stuff. Even Mortal Kombat X with the Lucky Towers and the other bonus content, and the Crypt was able to keep you engaged enough. Shang Tsung's Island. Here, they got that stupid gotcha machine where you drop coins and then maybe you might get something good. Whereas I liked exploring Shang Tsung's Island in MK11. Uh, MK1, like I said, is right now in a vulnerable spot. So Tekken coming in at this moment has a chance to really like surprise the fighting game world again. Because, like I said, back in the day, Mortal Kombat 4 was a rough point for Midway, and they had disastrous at-home releases with Special Forces and Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero not so bad, but just very clunky and tedious. But Special Forces, I think Ed Boon has said without a doubt one of the worst things they have ever put out, even worse than Annihilation.
Jeez.
But yeah, it was at that point that the other fighting games like Soul Calibur, Virtua Fighter, and Street and Tekken were really taking over the fighting game scene. So interesting to see almost 30 years later a similar thing happen again with MK1 being in a sort of vulnerable position. Not it's done for, done. This ain't going to end the Mortal Kombat series by a long shot, but I'm saying Tekken has an opportunity right now. And one thing the characters like the Mishimas are always talking about is you seize opportunity at the exact moment to, like, claim your moment.
Yep.
And that's the thing about the fighting style too, because really good players will know how to counter and back up and look for the opportune moment to unlock a full string of hits that'll just decimate an opponent. Speaking of which, there's one famous thing that the Kazamas are known for. I think it's called the Electric Godwin Fist. I think you know what I'm talking about, right?
But you mean when they like got the whole electricity thing going on?
Yeah, the combo. It's called the EGFT. Like it's like get EGFT Electric Godwin Fist combo, where it's like a string of a single string of kicks and punches that they do that only the Kazama fighting style can really do. So Kazuya can do it, Jin can do it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, like you said, they haven't announced any guests for 8 yet, but no doubt it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, the only thing we announced for DLC is that they're working on bringing Eddie Gordo back.
Which is, mainstay. That's great. You know what would drive my sister nuts is if a Soul Calibur character was transplanted into the current day. There's actually a character that canonically can do that with Zaslamal, the long-lived immortal who can't quite pass away. So there's an ending in Soul Calibur 4 where he's in the modern day, and I think if you have if we had Zaslamal show up as a guest in 8, then that might turn her head. I mean, I would say Nightmare and all that stuff, but
I think like someone like Maxi could probably pull it
Maxi
off.
would be perfect. Maxi, because he has nunchucks, he has a hand-to-hand fighting style. Like he would be, if you had to like bring a representation, it could be him. Like you could argue Man Out of Time, or maybe he was like preserved in something and woke up and whatever. I mean, we have pandas and kangaroos and dinosaurs and robots. So I think a guy from the 1800s appearing in the modern day won't be too out of the realm of possibility for them. But so well, it doesn't have quite a character create mode. Tekken does have the character customization where you could really customize the look of your characters, right?
In where?
I think it was Tekken 7 actually. I started that 6 or 7. One of them where you could like buy gold to like buy different appearance items for your character.
Oh yeah. It's 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 not really as refined as you think it is.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's kind of like MK11's little slight customization thing, but not really in depth.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are your hopes for this franchise going forward?
And we can start up a different storyline.
Oh yeah, like close up the Mishima bloodline thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Every time a fighting game series tries to do a whole new generation, you always get those upstarts that rebel, saying, "No, it's not this." It happened with the Combat Kids in the Mortal Kombat saga. It happened in Soul Calibur 5. Although to be fair, they really botched that up with a story mode they set in pieces and said, "Don't worry, we're going to add more pieces for each other character down the line." And it was so poorly received the first time around, they didn't even bother to finish the story bits, which is a crying shame. Because we had the whole, son and daughter of the Sophia character, but there was going to be bonus chapters explaining Ivy and why she still looks the same after because of the cursed sword. There's going to be stuff with Natsu, the ninja type. There was all kinds of stuff planned, and oops, spaghettios, that didn't happen.
Well, maybe if they had like gone completely batshit with the story, and actually, gave an actually satisfying conclusion that didn't like usurp literally both swords alignments.
Oh yeah, the good sword was secretly evil this whole time type thing. Yeah, that was oops. Thankfully, I think they recovered and set the ball straight with 6. So it's up to them.
But I haven't actually played anything in 6 aside from making uh, both the Hex Hunter characters in Character Creator. Because apparently, starting out in Character Creator, your options are very limited, but I was at least able to make those two.
Obviously, the more you play and unlock, the more shit. But 5 had the best creative character system of the whole thing. Uh,
Yep, and then they pissed it away.
yep. So, I don't know. Oh, I forgot to mention that the tag tournaments were pretty much refined versions of the game at the time. So I heard that Tag Tournament 2 was like a really refined version of 6 or 7. And one notable thing about it was all the content modes in it. And one of the funniest things is the fact that Nintendo character costumes were an option in that thing.
Mm.
So you had like a Peach costume, a Mario costume, a Link costume, stuff like that.
Yeah, Nintendo likes to do that. It's like, hey, coming over to this system, just make sure you represent us.
Well, yeah, well, Soul Calibur had the famous Link guest character. Oh, we have Mr. Advertisement. Hiya. But yeah, so, I guess I want to thank you for getting me involved, because I'm really starting to look forward to this. 8, I think, if 7 is anything to go by, how they really geared it toward casuals, I'm pretty sure 8 will just refine that system enough.
I will say this. It is funny how it's kind of come full circle that my journey in Tekken started out with a demo for a game which I eventually became interested in. And here we are. I just actually got to play the demo of Tekken 8. And I can already tell you that the playstyle of that thing is going to be really insane.
So, oh yeah, you and I are gonna have some fun with that this season once I get around to it, and we gotta have obviously the PlayStation Plus is active, and if they don't increase the damn price hike again, like good God. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Um, I'm looking forward to the tournament scene. I'm not a tournament fighter, but I know a lot of guys who are super into like stats and frame hits and shit are probably just chomping at the bit to really tear into this and learn how to master it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is there anything else you want to add to this whole thing?
No, that's pretty much it.
But yeah, so far I've only played 6. The PSP port of 6 on the PS5, and the Prime 3D edition, which is just an upscale of the port from the PSP on the 3DS. But I am surprised how well that plays on the 3DS. It plays just like the console version.
That's good to hear.
The only thing that sucks is that all it has is a few limited modes to be on the go. So it has, competitive versus local versus and a survival mode, but no campaign, no story, arcade endings, nothing. So, but it does include Blood Vengeance as a movie you could play on it. So, so I can watch that on the go too if I wanted to. All right. So I guess that's all. It's kind of had a little bit of a ramble on this, but this was pretty fun. I was glad to have your insight on this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No doubt. If I had to guess, if we were to meet again the next time, it definitely probably would be for Dune, probably.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
if I actually find a theater to play it, consider the fact that
Oh.
another theater is gone, that's like hop and a skip for me.
Ooh, geez. So yeah. Hopefully you can find one soon.
I'm sure.
But I know, but that other one you've probably been to for quite a while now.
That theater was literally like right there since we originally moved up here back in the 90s, like 99.
Ooh, so yeah. What was the last film?
The last film we watched Wonka on there, I think.
Oh, that's not a bad way to go out.
I have to assume maybe like it's getting swapped out with someone else because
That's what happened over here. Our Carmike ended up turning into AMC within less than a year.
because that theater has been switched hands with like so many other ones, and it's honestly, there's like a whole plethora of people that and actually give a service to that. Maybe it's like AMC's just not like serving that, so maybe it'll just be hands changed over to like maybe a Regal theater. I don't know.
Regal's pretty decent. There's Cinemark too, but yeah. Uh, also, the guy who made the Tekken movie still has the rights to it, but given that the friend he was tight with at Namco had recently passed away like 5 years ago of old age, I don't think you can count on the top brass giving him support of trying to make another one of these. Oh, and I forgot to mention, supposedly there's a new anime on Netflix that's loosely based off of 3. I think that one's called Tekken Bloodlines.
I would love to see that, but I'm still saying fuck you to Netflix at this
Oh,
point.
oh yeah, I'm with you there. But yeah, I think that's all you've had to say on the whole thing. So if you guys sat through all this and listened to this, we want to thank you for being with us and enjoying our little interactive sessions with each other. Uh, hopefully, we say if you have a chance to get a hand on any Tekken arcade machine or play it at a machine or play it on the console, do it. The newer ones are definitely much more casual friendly, so it's not like there's a steep learning curve like say I don't know, Street Fighter. Yeah, alright then. So this is Johnny Cat 89 aka Chris signing off along with my co-host Derek aka Darkneon.
I have no end catchphrase here.
Alright then. So get ready for our next battle out there on the field and we'll catch you at the next one. Take care.
Bye bye.